What's good, everybody? Welcome into Inside the Green Room with Danny Green. I'm Harrison Sanford. You already know the vibes. Thank you guys for tuning in. Before we get into today's show, we ask you guys to make sure that you go to our YouTube page and that subscribe button if you're listening to us on the Audacy app or any podcast audio app. We ask that you give us a 5-star review, subscribe, and rate. With that being said, let's get into it. This time of year, like we always do, it is March Madness. The brackets came out on Sunday and caught some people's attention. Not necessarily the number one seeds, but one of the 11 seeds that got into the field. One of those teams being the North Carolina Tar Heels. Now, to be fair, North Carolina absolutely waxed San Diego State in their play-in game, so now they advance to the actual tournament, in my opinion. But Danny, as a North Carolina alum, your thoughts about the first of all, the fact that there's even controversy that North Carolina got into the field is it's not good. It's not good.
I agree with you, bro. I mean, you should never put yourself in that type of scenario situation, right? Where you don't hear those rumblings or the BS, because we're too good of a team to be in that type of situation. But the cards lay where they lay. It is what it is, and it's how the season panned out for us. We didn't win the games we were supposed to. I do think there should be some type of point system, which it doesn't matter. But the games we did lose, it wasn't like we were getting blown out. It was just immaturity and losing and not closing end of halves or end of games. But we showed that we're a solid team. But yes, the wins and losses for some groups don't add up. Ours, people didn't like it. And for our standard, because of our name, I think people have a higher standard for us, higher expectation that we should be a lot better. And if we're not to that standard, we shouldn't be allowed in the tournament. But if we had the standard of another team, then it wouldn't be an issue. But because we're Carolina, we have a higher standard. Sorry for those who hate us.
I mean, I think that's pretty fair. I mean, I still would say that there's other teams that had a better profile, particularly West Virginia coming out of the Big 12 had a better profile, but they didn't make the cut. In fact, to the point, Danny, where one of their state-appointed officials, I believe it was the governor of West Virginia, said he wanted to open up an investigation into the NCAA. It didn't help
like
that,
they already did.
Bubba Cunningham who's on the staff, works for UNC. Like, it's a little.
It looks like they already did open it. Hey, y'all can be upset all you want, man. So those who hate us, I'm sorry. We're in. Get over it. Like, we've seen how things go in this world. What do you want from us? We're there. West Virginia could have been there. You put them in the play-in game with us. You know what I'm saying? Instead of San Diego State. They might have gotten waxed too, but they're a good team. Just because certain teams didn't make it doesn't mean that we don't. Like, you could pick other teams that could have been in over, or you could have had us play them in the play-in. Either way, we're there. Get over it. It happens. There's a lot of people in places they shouldn't be. Not saying that we didn't belong, but I get the standard. But right now, we're proving that we're not a team that's just some bum-ass team and that we don't belong there. I'm going to stay quiet until because we get to the tournament. You know, Hubert Davis, usually regular season with the groups, we don't play that great. We usually pick up steam toward the end of the year. Hopefully that's the case again this year. But we're not just a team that's just going to go home first or second, first round, like just get kicked out and blown out. We're a team that usually can make the tournament interesting. People buy tickets, watch us play. People want to see their teams play Carolina and vice versa. Like, people want to see Carolina in the tournament. It is a money business thing at the end of the day, always. And the teams that bring in the money are always going to get a bid. So if you want to watch some good basketball or teams get beat or beat teams, Carolina's one of them. And we may end up finishing better than some other teams. I'm not going to say anything just yet. There's a lot of noise from everybody and some of my coworkers.
Yeah, you still got to play Ole Miss.
We got to play some teams. I'm going to keep quiet till it gets about Sweet 16. If we get to the Sweet 16, oh, you better believe I'm going to be acting a fool on NBA Today. I'll be talking crazy to Stephen A. and company, everybody that had something to say. But as right now, I'm just going to keep it quiet, keep it cool. But we belong in the tournament. That's all I'm saying. We belong in the tournament. I think we showed that we belong. We have some games ahead, but we showed that we could be an 11 seed in the tournament.
The tournament selection process is always going to net in result like this. There's always going to be a snub. There's always going to be a team that was not qualified enough to get in, and especially when you have those bid from the conference tournaments getting in. So sometimes a conference that really only deserves one gets two because one team ends up making a run in the NCAA tournament or in the conference tournament. So it's always interesting. I did find it interesting, Danny, that there have been some people now who have been lobbying to extend the field yet again. Remember, we opened it up to 68, and I'm saying to myself, no, like the controversy with the brackets is part of the selling point. If you make it big enough so that controversy, then you take away from the actual intrigue of Selection Sunday. I mean, yes, everybody's going to get – at that point, everybody's going to get it. That really has a chance to fit. It also takes away from the urgency of the games being played at the end of the year, which is, I think, even if you think of the NBA now with the race to be in the top 6 in the Eastern Conference or the Western Conference, the fact that exists makes some of these games in the NBA feel like playoff games, even though we're still a month away from the playoffs. So I wouldn't touch it. Leave it alone. It's broken, but you still shouldn't fix it, in my opinion. Before we get into the National Basketball Association, Danny, I'm curious, as we are now in the month of Madness, March, what stands out to you as a memory that kind of sticks in your head related to March Madness? And obviously, you could say, winning the title in 2009 or whatever,
Yeah, that's always easy.
That's easy. I'm thinking I would love for you to identify a moment off the court related to March Madness that really sticks out to you.
I think now that the fact that I'm retired, it's a lot easier to hone in and reminisce on all moments, college, NBA, et cetera. And for me, college, I didn't realize until as a recent, what I missed the most, and of course, because of the camaraderie of not being in a locker room, is the bus rides where we had to wear suits to we had a standard. We had to wear suits every pregame meal and go to wherever we went before we traveled wearing suits and ties. But the biggest outside of sharing bus rides,
even when it was hot, you had to wear the suit, huh?
And it did not damn matter. Coach Williams had a standard. It went from Dean Smith. It followed the Carolina way. You wear a damn suit to meals. You wear a damn suit to games. When we travel, you make sure. Now I wore the hell out of my 3 or 4 suits that I had. I changed up a tie. We didn't have many. We didn't have an aisle back then. But the most fun times for me was practicing during tournament time in front of the fans. You have your open practice where you could show off. I could jump back then, show off your dunks. You do some shots and show off some of the scouts what kind of prospect you can be. But having a little dunk contest in front of the fans back then, I could do a windmill or two. I could do it between the legs. For those, some people don't believe it, but I could do it between the legs dunk. But those are the most fun times. So I would say the meals and traveling and being with your team and talking about other teams, but also just practicing in front of the fans during the tournament. And a lot of times, because we had a good seating, we'd have home court first rounds. We'd be in Greensboro or Charlotte.
Essential home court, yeah.
So we got a chance to be in front of those groups and have an open practice, which was a lot of fun. So those are the fun times and the best memories of when we were dancing in the tournament.
That's actually interesting because I obviously, I covered a lot of NCAA tournaments. Even when I was in college, I traveled with the Cornell team who lost in their first 2 first-round games, but then won and actually made it to the Sweet 16 in their third straight after making it to the tournament for 3 straight years. I always thought the fan interactions were kind of they're just like it was just like maybe because I'm like a game.
What years was this? Like what years when
bro,
what years are you talking?
Bro, I've covered multiple. I'm talking about from 2006 to 2009. 2007 to 2010. But I also covered the University of when I used to work in Ohio. I covered Cincinnati, Xavier, and Ohio State. I would go to all the NCAA tournament games. I never got the thrill or found. You know what it was? I was just doing something different. While
you're also that's a weird area.
Yeah, I was probably I was in a press conference somewhere.
And you're in Ohio.
Talk about,
Like
I was in Ohio. I was in Lexington, Kentucky. I spent games in Lexington, Kentucky.
So they might have big crowds there, but like you in the Carolinas and the South, and you have big schools, like you see everybody from all over the world come out, and I feel like during that time back then, the fandom was way better.
But y'all not doing nothing but playing around. Y'all not actually playing for real.
It's not like up and down real scrimmage.
I totally understand now. For you, it was enjoyable because it was a low,
very light practice. We don't get light practice. Like it's like how NBA practice right now.
Exactly.
That's what that was for us then. We had heavy practice. Yeah, and a light day of practice and just doing shots and dunks in front of fans and kids who were excited. But so the fandom thing was back then. Social media wasn't a big thing then, so they didn't see like fans were bigger fans of the game back then. Like the fandom was more exciting. You see more people excited about the college game, more excited about seeing us in person. Social media now, the celebrity value is very low. Like people see you all the time and click and everything you're doing. They can see all the highlights. Not a lot of people have that access back then to catch a practice or to see a guy, Tyler Hansbrough, in person. So it was a different time then, bro. And it was a lot of fun. But I said, when I'm covering the games on radio, when I'm watching these games, the fans are in it, but not like they're doing their own thing. He was like, they're not really in it like that. You don't see people storm the court like that. Like fans really, we go to Maryland or Clemson, they have signs, they're yelling, they're chanting. If they beat us, they're storming the court. It's like, it's chaos, bro. But they live and die by this. It ain't like that no more. Ain't nobody living and dying by their school's blood anymore. It's not the same. So
that actually leads me to something. We're gonna go a little bit off topic here, but I think it's necessary. So Cheryl Miller recently. She did a podcast with Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes, and they talked to her. They asked her, should women's college basketball players be allowed to go to the W earlier? And she was like, why would they want to go? College is where the money is. And I'm thinking of it now, right? And I also looked at the women's bracket, and boy, there's a matchup in the Elite Eight set up between Paige Beckers and Juju Watkins. That's going to be absolutely dynamite, bro. It's going to be fantastic. And when I look at the women's game, bro, I could name you 7 to 10 stars right now that are in college basketball, not in the WNBA, in college basketball. From Juju Watkins to Madison Booker to Micaiah Fulwiley to Flauze Johnson to Lauren Betts to Hannah Hidalgo. Like you have stars all over the place in the women's college basketball. And for me, I'm actually excited to watch the women's game just as much as the men. Matter of fact, I'm more interested in the women's game, even though I will end up watching more men's game just because that's just how I've been constructed, my fandom. But I think it illustrates a point, Danny. Does it make sense? I know it's going to seem crazy. Does it make sense to now, with the NIL intact, to tell college players for the growth of especially with NBA ratings overall being down, for the growth of the game, does it make sense? Not saying it's right, but does it make business sense to require college players, male college players, to stay for a little bit longer? Because by the time Juju Watkins gets to the WNBA, bro, her jerseys are selling. By the time Paige Beckers gets there next year, name your. There's a reason why Asia Wilson came in with so much acclaim. There's a reason why Caitlin Clark came in with such acclaim. And she had built up her marketing, built up her brand for 4 years, and she was at one. And I just think there's. As I said, I think we said it, maybe not last week, maybe the week before. At the end of the day, all athletes, you guys, in the cases were, and now, and the players now are, characters in a story. That's it. And there's no character development. Yeah. Yes, and there's no character development you just go to Pitt for 1 year, and then you're in the league. And then you don't play for your first 2 years. And then next thing you know, you're out the league. Like, there's no character development at all. I know it's not fair, but let's keep it real, Danny. A lot of things in life ain't fair.
100%. And I'm with you and I'm not. I am a fan of guys going to college and staying until you're ready. I think the women should have the option because some of these players are already elite. People want to see them. And the college game is so different from the NBA. WNBA is not paying them. Like, they're legit going to make more money staying in college. So that's why it's not a hard decision for them. Listen, bro, we've had this debate time and time. A year ago, the reason we had a major debate of why some people should stay in college on the W side than go to the league, because I thought there's no money like alumni money, like local money that they're gonna, because those local people, when you go to WNBA, they're not caring as much because the viewership of the W is not as high as it is it's gotten better because of certain people, but the people that are making those big money in the W, I'd like to think they make a good amount but they make a lot of money if they stayed in college too. Probably damn near the same, if not more, for some of them. And I don't think any of them regret their decision. But I think in college they got a lot of free stuff, but you don't account for is money. Like, you living for free, you get cars and everything free, food for free, which is a lot of money, and you're getting paid a salary from some people. You know what I'm saying? And those donors and sponsors and alum, which you don't get in the W. Yes. It's a risk, right? So everybody should have the option to go. Why would you want to go? But some players aren't built for the college game. The college game for men and NBA is so different that, and some people also peak at different times. So if you know that your body, somebody better be advising you the right thing. If you know your type, like the tools you have, you might need longer time. Or you're not 6'9" and jumping high. So Braden Smith, we were talking about him earlier with a friend of mine, one of the top college players of the year. His stature, he's not a specimen where he should leave early. You know what I'm saying? Like, make your money in college, get as much as you can, and then possibly try to enter. Now, if you're a specimen and you get a chance to go in the lottery in the top 10 or 15, yes, colleges are paying big money, but they ain't paying lottery money. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a difference there.
For sure.
There's a difference. And you only got a short window for us as professional athletes to maximize on your peak athleticism during that time. Some people peak at 18, 19. Greg Oden, like I said, you just don't know if you're going to get hurt or not. Derrick Rose, like, imagine Derrick Rose stayed 4 years of college. Would he be the same Derrick Rose? James Hart, like, a lot of these young guys that went out early, would they still be the same guy if they stayed in college 3 or 4 years, or are they just able to grow and learn the NBA game faster? So people ask me when I have my kids and my son, would you want him to be held back? Or like, would you, as much as I love college, I advocate for it. I think guys need to be polished when ready. But the goal is to get to the highest level as soon as you possibly can, so you can adapt to it as soon as you possibly can. And that's where you're going to make the most money as soon as you possibly can. The reason why people in my draft class lasted longer than me, because I did 4 years of college. They're getting more years in the pros because they came out after freshman year. I had to do 4 years. So they're getting 16, 17, 18 years in the league. I may get 14, 15. I stretched it. I had a great career. I was lucky and fortunate enough to stay healthy for that long. Most people aren't. But even staying healthy, I'm behind the curve trying to keep up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't get the chance to get those years that I was not paid. I wasn't getting an NIL. And now if I was getting an NIL, still, it would be nice, but I know it's not the same as NBA money or the same as being on that level or getting treated and also getting groomed into being on the highest. You know what I'm saying? So I was lucky enough to be a late bloomer. Some guys aren't. Everybody peaks at different times, and you want to be at the highest level at your peak, or at least give yourself a chance to groom into that during that time. Because if you stay in college and they make you stay in college, now football makes sense because they're grown men and you're hitting people. But if it's not, basketball's a physical sport now, but it's not as physical as football. So if you're able to get there sooner and have your peak years, because front office, they look at you as old now if you're 22, 23, which is crazy.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, which is nuts. But I do think there's I understand exactly where you're coming from. You're speaking from a former player's point of view. For sure. It makes sense. Like, go ahead. You want the players to be able to get their chicken as soon as possible. You want them to be able to adjust to the game as soon as possible. What I would just say is that if there were more players who stayed in college, there would be more players to capture our attention when they got to the league. Because 100%. Again, it's character development, and we get very minimal character development in the NBA. Like imagine if we were rooting
which
for,
is not as viewed or not as good as it used to be. Yeah. I'm with you, but it's all a gamble. It's that person's choice too. I mean, I think a lot of guys need character development. I think but ultimately, I would push for my kid to be there earlier. If he gets there at 17, he has more years of getting to playing professionally. It's kind of like, because we don't have that overseas. You know what I'm saying? Overseas kids are starting at 15, 16 playing professionally. If we had that, the only thing I would change about college is somehow minimizing the port, like where people can just because guys are all over the damn place. The transferring is crazy. And Matt Barnes spoke about it the other day. He was like, you should let Jay Billis run the show. But they got to find a way where guys can't be also given extra years of eligibility. Now you got 4 years of JUCO now. Like, guys going to be 26, 27 playing. Like, we got to do something with the age limit. And we got to do something about the portal of making it cleaner somehow.
Okay, last thing, and I promise we'll get to the NBA in just a moment. And I noticed this past weekend. There's a lot of I don't mean to ruffle any feathers, Danny. But if you look at the media, it feels like Duke is outnumbering North Carolina in a lot of ways. College basketball commentators like Jay Billis and Jay Will, representation in the NBA, not just as players but as coaches too. Whoa! As a proud Tar Heel, how do you feel about the popularity of Duke? Not just the team, but like its alums. It's heavy in the basketball world.
Yeah, there's a lot of those bastards everywhere. I would like to see. I mean, we have a lot of our guys in places too. They're just not as on screen as much or as in higher places. But we have guys coaching some college, some G League, some overseas. We got them, in some special places. Stack is doing something. Stackhouse, Jerry Stackhouse, Shaman Williams is doing stuff. Vasco is playing, coaching overseas. Like, there's guys in different places. Instead of just not.
But you don't really have a front. You don't really have a forefront.
Yeah, we had Rick Fox back in the day. We had, rest in peace, Stuart Scott. But we need more of those guys. We had Vince in the media, some Brendan Haywood, some. We need more of those guys. You know what I'm saying? So I would like to see more. We have, you said Joel Barry's doing it like in Charlotte, like locally. There's some guys that do local. Tyler Hansborough does some radio. Talazella does some radio. Like, they do some TV and radio like locally. I would love to see more of those guys. And I think they're just comfortable in being in their space, you know what I'm saying, and doing stuff more locally than it is nationally. Mm-hmm. But yes, we do need more Tar Heels because I'm tired of seeing the Duke battle. Even though I will say a lot of Kenny the Jet, another one, as much as we dislike each other, there's a mutual respect once we leave that bubble. And on the professional level, I've had a couple of Duke guys really look out for me. And I have to give some flowers to Danny Ferry, who gave me my first opportunities, a couple opportunities. Where I got a chance to talk to my guy earlier, Zach. He said he sat down and spoke to him. And Elton Brand. So, those guys, have done some good services for your boy. And many other people have come along the way that have come from Carolina. So, yeah. But, yes, I would love to see more of my guys in those spots. And we might see them, but I think a lot of them are just comfortable of going back home and just being coach at home with the kids or being locally, doing some media there. And, they like stay in their own little bubble.
Yeah. I noticed it the other day and I was like, damn, like there's just a lot of Duke. There's just a lot of Duke
everywhere. You're like,
everywhere. Like everywhere you turn, like, and Duke's not even that school. Like, it's just like, I mean, obviously it's a big school, but you know what I mean? Like, damn.
Yeah. They got some nepotism is a strong thing in our world. All right. Just like we got into the tournament. We got in the tournament, nepotism. They get in some play. Nepotism is a strong thing in the world today. All right. And it's always been, not even just today, but they know some people, they get connections, they got the right people in the right places. You know, that's how some guys get jobs.
Games
that's
that
how
match.
It goes. Yeah.
Games that match. All right. With that being said, we will finally get yesterday. Speaking of college, there's a former Michigan State alum who said some things that caught our attention. When we come back, we'll discuss Draymond Green and also the demise of the Phoenix Suns. This is the Inside the Green Room podcast. Be right back. What's good? This is Inside the Green Room. Thank you guys for tuning in. Our car keys, as I like to say. Okay, so now I want to break down the situation that's happening in the Western Conference in the National Basketball Association. So as it presently stands, the top 6 in the Western Conference, you got obviously the Oklahoma City Thunder. There's a logjam essentially between the 2 and the 5 seed, between the Rockets, Nuggets, Lakers, Grizzlies, all one behind each other that could flip any single day. And then you have the Golden State Warriors 3 games behind the 5 seed, and you have the Timberwolves 3.5 games behind the 5 seed. So it looks as if the Warriors and Timberwolves will be battling for that 6th spot, which is going to be very interesting towards the end of the season because both of those teams are playing, for the most part, at a high level. But I want to focus in on going down at the bottom of the standings, all the way at the 10 and the 11 seed. As it presently stands, the Phoenix Suns are 1 game behind the Dallas Mavericks. Now, we've heard recent reports that Anthony Davis intent on coming back this season, even though there is pushback from even those within the organization from him to play. He still wants to play. And we've even heard P.J. Washington recently say to the media he's tired of hearing all of the fire Nico chants and some of the animosity that is coming from some Dallas Mavericks fans. I do think, Danny, that even though they are depleted and decimated by injuries, there's probably a certain level of professional pride that is going to come along the way here for the Dallas Mavericks because the whole from the Luka thing to how it's gone. Like it would not sit right in my basketball soul if I was sitting there taking L's. I imagine it would be the same for you. Like it'd be like, nah, I can't go through another month of losing.
Well, I mean, if you look at the bigger picture, he's got to be patient. You know, for them, it doesn't make sense to play AD. They just need bodies. So they're putting guys signed into the G League because they're damn near about to forfeit games. They just need guys available. I'd assume AD would just get up and down, get some shape in, shoot some threes. Who knows? But I don't see him playing at full force, trying to win a bunch of games or try to get a bunch of numbers. He's not about to get All-NBA team. He's not about to be, you know what I'm saying, in the final. You know, there's no real benefit for him as a group or individually, except for like he gets in shape and hopefully doesn't get hurt again. But they need available bodies. But the bigger picture is like, if I'm Clay, I'm just keeping the rhythm, staying professional, and knowing that the bigger picture is we're going to have this group for next year, and we have a good contending group. Yeah. With that being said, we're Phoenix. that's their best chance is that their best chance is that Dallas and the teams in front of them just kind of just don't care and give up. But because Phoenix it doesn't look good right now. It hasn't looked good all year, honestly.
It's
or in the last 2 years.
One thing. Yeah, no, it's just bad. You watch the Phoenix Suns, and you could just tell that they have no spirit. They just have no life force to the way that they play. And I want to talk about them because Danny,
very low. Yeah, the care factor
it's very low. And the problem is they're going to need to care because listen to this schedule after they play the Chicago Bulls on Wednesday night. Home for the Cavs, home for the Bucks, home for the Celtics, at the Timberwolves, home for the Rockets, at the Bucks, at the Celtics, at the Knicks, home for the Golden State Warriors, home for the Oklahoma City Thunder, and then they finish the season, luckily for them, against the Spurs, but then they still have to play at the Kings. So, Danny, I legitimately see 2 wins tonight against the Chicago Bulls and Friday, April 11th against the Spurs at home. Those are the only 2 wins I see in their schedule. And so as much as I want to say the Dallas Mavericks are not going to make it, they're too depleted, mixing the schedule with the lack of care from the Phoenix Suns and
it doesn't look good.
But they're about to miss the play-in, bro.
Yeah, that's gonna be so bad.
It's crazy.
Even with the team that you named, and even outside those teams, even those teams get rest, like teams that are they clinch a playoff spot and they rest guys. I feel like even their second unit is gonna be like, because of the care factor. Like you see when Lakers gave Denver a run, or Washington gives Denver a run, and they beat them, or Denver beats Golden State without, like when you have that second unit, those guys are excited. They get energy. They get a chance to play and show what they can do. They have a chip on their shoulder. They're not playing against, teams that don't have any life. Like those teams, even their second unit has life and wants to hoop and show that they should be in a playoff rotation. Their strength of schedule is that right now is probably one of the toughest strengths of schedule towards the end of the season that I've seen. I don't know if anybody has a tougher schedule at this point in the season.
Nobody does. Nobody does.
It looks like it's curtains. Their best bet is that they hope that teams rest guys. OKC rests to their all-stars. Boston rests some guys. Knicks rest some guys. And that, they can beat San Antonio. They can beat whoever else on the list that is. And they hope Sacramento ain't resting guys like that. They're trying to be in the play-in. We don't know that for sure. But said Houston and Memphis, they ain't resting no guys. Like they need to get in rhythm. So those type of teams, good luck. So it looks like they're going to be coming home early,
I counted 2 wins on that Suns schedule, and that's with them being a game back. If I look at the Dallas Mavericks, if they could put something together, they still have a game at Brooklyn, which could be hard for them. They still take on the Chicago. They have 2 games versus Brooklyn, 1 game versus the Chicago Bulls, and they have and they also played the Toronto Raptors. So they sneak out 4 wins somehow, some way to end the season. And the Suns, as I said, it only looks like they have 2 wins available to them on that schedule. Some way, somehow, the Mavericks could get in this thing, and the Suns could miss it. It would be a tragic. I know we don't want to. I know people want to claim all these great things about Kevin Durant, and listen, unacceptable. Point blank period.
It's not just Kevin Durant. You got Bradley Beal there, Devin Booker. They have guys there.
On all of them, it's unacceptable. Unacceptable. Unbecoming for a team with that much talent. I don't care how.
Do you blame it? Do you blame it on the coach? Like it didn't look good before Frank Vogel. It didn't look good when Frank got there. It didn't look good when Bud got there. You blame the coach and firing the coach. Like, is that the answer? I don't think that's the answer either. Like. And he has enough money to do it, but it's like most teams can't afford to fire another coach. You got to make some trades. So this summer, I fully expect.
KD's out of there.
Everybody's going to be on the board. Everybody's going to be available.
KD's. Honestly, I feel like you're going to have to trade all big 3. You have to trade KD. You're going to have to trade Devin Booker, and then I think at that point Bradley Beal at that point would have to be like, all right, man, I'm not just going to around because I have a no trade clause. Get me up out of here too. I feel like they're going to have to trade all 3. All right. With that being said, let's get to the quote of the week.
1,000,000% I have a case, and I'll continue to build that case for these next 13 games.
It's award season, getting towards it. Do you think you have a Defensive Player of the Year case this year?
I think, obviously, we keep winning and close this year out strong. Most definitely. I look around the league, I don't see many players impacting the game on the defensive end the way I do. I don't see many players completely throwing off an entire team's offense than I do.
All right. What are your thoughts, Danny? Draymond Green wants to be mentioned for Defensive Player of the Year. You don't seem too enthused by it.
I've heard this. I've listened to the soundbite a couple times, and every time I hear it, I just can't help but to laugh, bro. It's just, and I said I love Draymond. It's not that I'm laughing at him. I said I wish I had that type of confidence in myself, and I wish I advocated for myself that greatly. And I will give him a lot of credit. They have been playing well. They have been winning. And it's not just because of Jimmy. He's been exceeded my expectations for him this year, especially defensively. I wasn't sure if he still had it. He had a couple injuries, but he's been playing well. Now, Defensive Player of the Year, well, that's a different level, you know? And I know that the league, there's not a lot of guys that's playing defense, that's not really locking anybody down, it's not really anchoring a defense. But there's a multitude of guys on the list that are higher than Draymond for me. So yes, cool. I respect it. I respect it. I respect his confidence. To name a few, obviously the leaders or the odds in favor for Jaren Jackson Jr., Evan Mobley. They're on 2 winning teams on each coast. Dyson Daniels, I love that a guard is actually bringing it back. You know, doing some good things. But there's a plethora of guys that I can be like, you know what, he protects the rim well. You know, you don't look at many guards most of the time. And Draymond, he actually has gotten some block shots here and there, but he's not like a rim protector, like a Jared Allen. You know, I know AD's been hurt, Gaff has been hurt, but I'm
saying I will say I want to revisit this next week. I want to do a proper awards ceremony because we can look into the numbers, but I think Jaren is probably in risk of missing the award itself because you got to play 65 games. Mm-hmm. So I think some of the defensive metrics will give Draymond Green a good case. Like even with Dyson Daniels, as much as he's accumulating stocks and steals, the defensive rating for the Atlanta Hawks is still bottom 10 in the league. And so that's still like you could be a great individual defender, but if it doesn't translate to great team defense, that still has some sound. It still has to count for something.
Wemby still was counted for defensive player of the year. Was the Spurs defensive rating good last year?
No. All right, so fair enough.
It does not fucking matter. Don't give me that. Like, I get winning matters, cool. Defense rating matters a little bit. But if there's a guy, if you're on a shitty team, it's not your fault. You're still anchoring defense. You're still doing historic things. He's leading the league in steals. It has 15 games left. They already surpassed a number of steals that hasn't happened in like 15 years, over a decade. Yeah. And he's got some time to go. He could catch John Stockton, historic numbers, assist and steals numbers. He could catch his single season, steals record, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody mentioned the other day. So he's very much deserving of a first team. I mean, Alex Caruso got first team last year. They weren't on a winning team. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, and you can look at the winning teams. You can look at the Knicks. You can look at Boston. You can find guys like OG, Mikal Bridges, even though it said that, but you can. And Golden State is winning more now. No, for sure. But Golden State is winning more now. But they weren't winning all year. They're getting themselves a good conversation. But there's a lot of guys on winning teams that impact the game defensively that could be considered, that do the little things, that do the dirty work, anchor or protect the rim, like Evan Mobley or Jared Allen or Jaren Jackson Jr. I know Chet has been out a while, Isaiah Hartenstein. And I'm not saying these guys are defensive player of the years, but they're ahead of Draymond to me.
Okay, fair enough. Real quick, we got only 3 more minutes left. So I forgot we didn't do it last week. I want to get back to this. Trivia question for you. You got 3 minutes.
Are we gonna do quick college teams that you like? You want to throw some for the bracket? And give me your top teams, your final 4 at least.
Who you got in your final 4?
I'm gonna look at my bracket right now. Just did one yesterday. I don't know why it ended up like this, but it did. I like Houston a lot. Okay. I like Alabama. At my final 4, I got Michigan State, Florida, Baylor, Houston. I got Baylor making a run, but I like my lead 8.
Wow.
So I'm gonna give you my lead 8. I like Baylor, Alabama, Michigan, Michigan State, Florida, St. John's in the lead 8, Houston, Tennessee. But those, a lot said you're better off picking lottery numbers. A lot of those teams will get upset. But yeah, I got Florida doing something special this year. Florida, St. John's, I think is what it is. Whoever comes out of that bracket, I think for me is going to get it done.
Well, I think the problem is so many people are Florida because they're playing at a high level. It makes me kind of be cautious of them. But I don't see any other team right now that's better than them. That's why my bracket's going to get busted at some point because it's too tough. With that being said, I probably should have more NCAA analysis, but I just don't because the game is not what it used to be. Let's just keep it real. All right. With that being said, I want to do this trivia question real quick. All right. So this past weekend, Peyton Pritchard for the Boston Celtics hit a multitude of threes in their game against the Brooklyn Nets. He set the new record for
threes off the bench
made off the bench in a season. Whose record did he break? Off the bench? Yes.
He got like it was like, was it like 219 or something like that? I'm assuming it probably is it Buddy Hield. I'm gonna throw a couple numbers in there. How many guesses do I get? Okay. I got Buddy Hield as a guess.
Strike one.
I'm gonna go with Manu Ginobili.
Strike two. Now I'll give you a hint before you say this. Before you give your third guess. You are very familiar.
Patty Mills.
In fact, you were teammates with this guy.
Patty Mills.
No.
My last answer. It's not Patty Mills?
Wayne Ellington.
Off the bench. Wayne came up. Oh, he didn't start. Wow. I thought Wayne started that year. No, in Miami, right? He had Wayne Ellington. Wow.
Got you good with that, huh? You good with that one. Yeah.
That was a good one. Wheezy. Wheezy F. Okay, Wheezy.
Yeah. He was on that record for a while. When he said it on the broadcast, I was like, damn, I didn't even know he was going off like that. Specifically,
he had a good year.
Specifically off the bench.
Yeah.
200 over 200 made threes off the bench. All right. With that being said, you guys know what to do. If you don't, Danny, tell them, please.
Read, rate, subscribe, review. Peace.